That was funny. I should have said that I was, but no, they were production.
Oh, okay.
I was wrapped early to make it here.
Oh,
but
okay.
And it was still on our shooting schedule. It was very early on a Friday. I was wrapped around 10:30. When I got to bed at home and ready to basically come here by almost 1, and then woke up at 5. So, and then after working all day, so that was what was exhausting. But it was exhausting for them as well because they didn't actually fully finish shooting until 5 a.m. I told them, I was like, I went to bed and woke up and went to the airport when you guys finished.
Oh.
It's just a very weird day. We get a lot of those on Fridays.
Well, flying from Toronto to Chicago isn't too bad.
I wanted it to be longer.
So you could
That
actually
was to
sleep.
get some more sleep, and I got 45 minutes, and then I got an hour in the hotel, and then it's been a very strange day, but it's been fun.
It's typical because you guys have so many mysterious night shoots and everything else to keep the atmosphere going.
Yeah, it's such a way of life on Nikita now that I'm sure there's a lot of techniques to help survival. I don't even need to knock on wood now because we only have a week left of shooting, but I've been very fortunate in kind of like the last 3 or 4 months of not working a lot of Fridays and not working a lot of Sundays or bonus days. And if I am working Friday, it seems to be the first half. So worst case scenario, I'm wrapped at 1 or 2 a.m. Instead of 6 or 7 a.m., which has been a lot. And that's kind of the thing that Maggie's been quoted a few times, and I've definitely taken up the banner as well of saying that this show, without even knowing other people's schedules on whatever network, is one of the hardest working shows out there, if not the hardest, because of what we're given to work with and the amount of time that we have. We kind of screwed ourselves with the pilot because it looked like a film, and it looked very slick and very dark and a noir feel and Bourne Identity type of feel that we were trying to give it with the action so that it was believable. And once you do that, you got to do that every episode. So with that on a budget and the amount of time that we have and being in Toronto rather than LA or New York is it's pretty difficult. So instead, it's usually every hour drama is 8 days of shooting. But we're 9, and our second units are not second units. They're full-on days with very important scenes and that kind of stuff. So it can be pretty grueling, especially on the crew. It's because they got to be there every day. We may be lucky and not work that day, but the crew has to be there every day.
So they try to time the. I don't know when they're developing a shooting schedule for you guys. They're not going to schedule you doing heavy action scenes like for a long. You don't have to do that every day, do you?
No. They're usually it takes also. It takes a season or 2, I believe, to get into the swing of things. Year 2, even though it's been crazier storylines and out on the road a lot and things like that, rather than season 1 being a lot of it being in division, a lot of the main characters as well. Season 2, believe it or not, has been not as difficult because of going through everything that we went through in season 1, just getting used to the crew, getting used to the hours, getting used to what we're going to have makeup for this person, it's going to last this long, it's going to be this short, all that kind of stuff. All right, we did too many action days in a row, we need this break. So this year has been easy and a breeze compared to the first year, but there's a lot of blocking out. If you have a week-long schedule, Mondays usually, if we're going to be on location, Mondays usually start on location so that we can get that out of the way. And we like to finish in studio for Thursday and Friday so that even if we're working till 6 or 7 a.m., we're in a familiar situation, we're in town, we're 5 minutes away from home, and that kind of stuff. So you learn those type of things. Sundays, if we have to work the Sundays, it start until like 8 or 9 a.m., which is still early, but you get a few more hours of sleep instead of 5 or 6. And they got to end around 6 p.m. so that we can start Monday early too. So it's. I would not want to be the line producer on the show, having to work those hours. And then you got people going to be yelling at you from every department all the time. But we're proud of the show. We're proud of the product that we're putting out there, so it makes it worth it. If we weren't proud of it, it would definitely not be worth it.
Oh,
It's not fun being exhausted if you're not proud of what you're doing. It's a blast being exhausted if you're happy with what you're doing. That's the point, really.
So you've saved lives before as you've played a doctor. Now you're saving the world too. Which one do you prefer to do?
Yeah, this is a lot more fun. ER was a blast, of course, and I was very fortunate to really be surprised out of the blue to be on that show. Especially because I believe I was 27 when I started it. I was pretty young for a first-year resident, and it kind of just came out of the blue. So I grabbed that chance to be an adult all of a sudden, to have graduated from, being that teenager in college or whatever those type of roles were, and that was, so I was very, very happy with ER giving me that opportunity. And it was difficult, it was very difficult, but it's nothing like, getting into fights every day and firing guns and, having the action that happens on this show is, far more exciting, at least from a comic book perspective, or, being a kid and, playing war and all that kind of, silly things when you're a little kid, and so I'd have to take Nikita over ER in that perspective.
is it? Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, in your panel earlier, you were talking about how in the summer you kind of have some other upcoming roles that you might be up for and stuff. Is there anything you can confirm that you might be working on later?
I can't, because right now basically there are a few offers out there for some independents that I'd like to do, and a couple that shoot in New York, which I've always wanted to do. That aren't big. Well, clearly being independents aren't big, but the roles are things that I've never done before, which would be phenomenal. But it's all going to be based off of time.
Yeah.
If they get their act together fully and don't start shooting also in July. If we come back in July, you have to be done by then. And then because of that, that's helping out with the 2 studio things that I'm technically up for right now as well. But of course, you don't have as much pull with the studio because they're not going to change your schedule for anything.
Yeah.
So it's really just going to be confusing for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But hopefully something comes out. And in the end, if it doesn't feel right, I'll take the time off, and because we can certainly use it right now. But if anything were to shoot, if I were to be doing any of the projects right now and they were to shoot, they wouldn't start until mid to late May. So I'd get a few weeks off at least to see home and my family.
Speaking of, you're working at ER. That's a procedural. Kind of. As an actor, how do you prep for a procedural show versus a genre show like this, where it's all the stories are highly woven tightly from week to week? And
yeah, well. But Nikita's very realistic in a fantasy type world, and it's simpler to take it episode to episode. With ER, I think that what really made it difficult, especially being procedural, and being what the procedural was just having to not only perform and memorize your lines, but you also had to memorize the dialogue and the medical jargon, and then perform and act like you knew what you were doing with surgery or whatever else it might have been at the same time. So it was 3 different things at the same time, which made it very exhausting. And I think when you come from that background, which I don't, and I don't come from a math or science background either, it's incredibly difficult. And ER ran for 15 years. So they knew. And there was a lot of actors that came and went. And a lot of times when they came and went, it wasn't because they wanted to go. A lot of times it wasn't quite working out, or it was exhausting for them performance-wise, or to be able to do that. And sometimes your brain just doesn't click that way. So they would keep characters on longer and longer and longer when they realized they were just fortunate enough to get it. And it's a different. I'm sure that's how it might be on Law and Order and certain things like that, or CSI and stuff like that. And you just realize you either can do that or you can't. And it doesn't mean that you're a better actor or anything like that. It just means does that left side of the brain click on, and if you can click it off at the same time.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Okay.
well,
All right,
thank
thanks,
you so
guys.
much.
No problem. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.